Hi guys, I'm recording this video for all of those who were not able to listen to the audio in the previous PowerPoint presentation I sent this week. Now we're going to talk about defining relative clauses for objects and places with the relative pronouns that, which, and where. Let's take a look. As we said in the previous presentation, a DRC gives detailed information about the noun, not the subject, in the sentence. Remember, we do not place them within commas. These new DRCs provide extra information about the noun, but related to an object or a place. In this case, the relative pronouns for objects are that and which. These two relative pronouns can be used interchangeably. That means that you can use one or the other. But be very careful not to spell the word which without the H, because that word does not exist and it will automatically give you the wrong answer. If you spell it without the H, the whole sentence is incorrect automatically. So no which without the H. As you can see, the relative pronoun that can be used for both people and objects. It's like the generic one. The relative pronoun for places is where, but be very careful not to spell the word where without the H, which is the past form of the verb to be. Remember when we studied the past of the verb to be, we have was and where, but with H is a whole different word. That's the relative pronoun we use it. So the same thing that which without the H, if you spell it like that, the sentence is automatically incorrect. Be careful when the subject is a place, because depending on the sentence, it can refer to it as an object or as a place. For example, Tikal. Tikal is a city, we know. Tikal is the Mayan city, which is located in Petén. Here the DRC is which, and we know it's a DRC for objects because the relative pronoun is which. Here Tikal is being referred to as an object located at a specific place. Now look at this other example. Tikal is the place where the Gran Jaguar is found. The DRC is where the Gran Jaguar is found, and the relative pronoun is where. It's a place. In this sentence, Tikal is a place where you can find or do things. So in the first example, it's like saying the TV is on the desk, for example. You are referring Tikal to like an object. But in the second one, you're describing Tikal as a place where you can go and have fun and where you can go and find anything. Just like the DRCs for people, these other two have the same three essential parts. A subject, a noun identifying the subject or related to the subject, and a DRC describing the noun, not the subject. Let's take a closer look. Scientists use lenses which, or that, allow telescopes to see deep into space. Let's analyze the sentence. Scientists is the subject. Lenses is the noun describing the subject. And the DRC, which or that allow telescopes to see deep into space. It's our DRC for objects describing the noun. Let's look at another example. S2 is the building where the scientists have their laboratory. Let's analyze it. S2 is the subject. The building is the noun describing the subject. And the DRC is where the scientists have their laboratory. It's a DRC for place, describing the noun. Important things to remember. Remember that the subject in the sentence is the person, place, or object which the sentence is about, or the doer of the action. Now, in the DRCs, the subject is described by a noun, and the noun is described by the DRC. This is why we have three different parts in the sentence. When writing a sentence of your own, remember to use the best noun to describe the subject. For example, let's talk about Dwayne Johnson. Okay, so Dwayne Johnson is the former WWF fighter, or is an actor, or is the performer. Choose the best noun. Today I'm going to choose the former WWF fighter, and I have Dwayne Johnson is the former WWF fighter who now appears in different movies. Let's analyze the sentence. Dwayne Johnson is the subject. The former WWF fighter is the noun describing my subject, and the DRC is who now appears in different movies. describing the noun. And it's a DRC for people because we have a relative pronoun, who. And of course, we could change it for that. Another example, and this time let's talk about a place. Let's talk about the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is a place, or a touristic place, or a tower. I'm going to choose a touristic place. The Eiffel Tower is a touristic place which is located in France. Let's analyze the sentence. The Eiffel Tower is the subject, a touristic place is the noun describing the subject, and the DRC is which is located in France, describing the noun, and it's a DRC for objects because my relative pronoun is which. We know it's a DRC for objects because it's describing the noun as an object by telling us where it is. And that's why the relative pronoun is which, or we could also use that. Now the same example with different use. The Eiffel Tower again, with the three different nouns, a place, or a touristic place, or a tower. I'm going to use a touristic place, but more specific. The Eiffel Tower is the touristic place where we had the best lunch in France. Let's analyze the sentence. The Eiffel Tower is the subject. The touristic place is the noun describing the subject. Where we had the best lunch in France, it's our DRC for places describing the noun. And we know it's a DRC for places because our relative pronoun is where, with H. Here we cannot use that, only where. We know it's a DRC for places because it's describing the noun as a place to visit by telling us what you did there or what was your experience there, and that's why the relative pronoun is where. Recapitulating and things to keep in mind. Sentences with DRCs have three essential parts, guys. This is very important. You can use this to check yourselves when writing sentences of your own, for doing your album, or for doing your quiz on Friday. A subject, a noun describing the subject, and a DRC describing the noun. Those three essential parts. So far we have seen 4 different relative pronouns. That, this one can be used for relative or objects instead of who or which. Who, this is only for people. Which, this is only for objects. And where, this is only for places. But be very careful, guys. You should never use 2 relative pronouns together. For example, Mark Anthony is the singer who that was married to J-Lo. This sentence is incorrect because we have 2 relative pronouns in the same sentence, who and that is not correct. We could say Mark Anthony is the singer who was married to J-Lo, or Mark Anthony is the singer that was married to J-Lo, but not who and that in the same sentence. Now, watch out for your verb tense in the DRCs, guys. Very, very important as well. Remember that the verbs in the DRCs must have the correct tense depending on what you're talking about. For example, Galileo Galilei was a scientist who used a telescope for the first time. The verbs are was and use, but use is incorrect. The correct tense would be Galileo Galilei was the scientist who used a telescope for the first time. The verbs are was and used, and both are in the past. This is in the past because Galileo is no longer alive, so the verb has to be in the past. Be careful with regular and irregular verbs. Let's look at another example. J-Lo is the pop singer who have many albums. The verbs are is and have, but have is incorrect for this sentence. The correct sentence would be J-Lo is the pop singer who has many albums. The verbs are is and has. This is in the present because J-Lo still sings. She's still alive. And it is has and not have because it's a she. Remember that when we reviewed the simple present, we said that for he, she, and it, the verbs in affirmative sentences needed an s, es, or ies at the end. Or in this case, the verb have, which is irregular, changes to has. So be very careful on the tense that you use in your verbs. Quick exercise to check yourselves. Do these sentences have DRCs or not? Check yourself. Who are you? No. Even though the sentence begins with who, we don't have the 3 essential parts. We need the subject, noun, and DRC, and here we only have a simple sentence. I know where you are. No. Even though the sentence has the word where, we don't have the three essential parts again. Subject, noun, and DRC. Now let's look at the last one. Guatemala is the country where I live. Yes, we have the three essential parts we need. The subject, Guatemala, the noun, the country, and the DRC, where I live, which in this case is a DRC for places. Now, take notes in your notebook, guys. Take all the notes that you need, even if you need examples for the DRC for peoples. Take all the notes you need to copy the clarification if you need to. Okay, guys, I hope this worked for you.